Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Wednesday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather, and sports. I am Glenora Shipura. In the news tonight, Minister of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, Carl Schleitwein, is in New York today, where he attends the second ever United Nations Water Conference focused on the review of the implementation of the UN Decade for Action on the Water and Sanitation. The Namibian delegation also includes Prime Minister Sarakuongwela Amadila, as well as Dr. Elaya Ngurare of the Water Ministry's Department of Water Affairs and Maria Amakali, Director of Water Resources Management. Here is a short interview with Schleitwein where he explains Namibia's intention to elevate water in terms of climate change mitigation at the United Nations.
Here to attend the water conference. It's in fact the second water conference. The first one was held 46 years ago, and eventually now we are here to again attend a UN water conference, which is a pivotal point in our quest to not only achieve all the social development goals, but also to look into the future and see how climate change and water are related and should be managed. Now, from that vantage point, we as the developed world, or as Africa through AMCOM, have the view that climate change to a large extent is actually related to water, and it is driven by the availability of water. Whether we talk about floods, whether we talk about melting glaciers, whether we talk about droughts, whether we talk about dwindling rivers, flooding rivers, it is all related to water. But we have realized that water does not play a central role in the agenda of climate change. It still is judged as a matter that must be discussed in terms of a management plan for a scarce resource. We believe it is much more than that. Water, in fact, is an existential commodity. Without life is not possible, and equally important, without which any social economic development is not possible. And it is either the catalyst or the impediment of development.
Presidential hopeful Job Amupanda says it will be business unusual when he takes office on the 21st of March 2025, saying one of the first things his administration will do is to renegotiate Namibia's oil deals signed with the Qatari government and oil giants Total Energies and Shell. Qatar has an interest through its oil and gas company Qatar Energy in the Venus and Graff wells discovered in early 2022, together with Total Energies and Shell respectively, in what is being deemed significant discoveries. What we are going to do is we are not going to be desperate for running into these deals because we are comfortable with our mindset to be able to turn around the economy, and we are going to do so, and we are not going to be desperate to say where is the dotted line. We'll renegotiate everything these guys have negotiated, Amupanda said. Now, according to him, if those interested in Namibia's recently discovered oil resources were not satisfied, it will make no difference to leave the oil deposits undeveloped. If the Qataris don't want or don't agree, the oil will remain in our country, he said. Amupanda further said his administration would not entertain secret agreements, saying everything would be open to public scrutiny. We are not part of any secret agreement that has been agreed to, and we will engage from the vantage point of what is in it for our people, what is in it for our country, and there must be strategic partnership and strategic relationships, Amupanda said. Namibia, Amupanda said, had sufficient resources to ensure a quality life for all its citizens. Southwest Africa National Union Secretary General Gauyake Shikudu says attempts by party President Tangeni Iyambo to pave the way for former unionist Evaristus Karonda to take his parliamentary seat will be met with resistance. Iyambo announced his retirement from active politics ahead of the 2024 presidential and national elections. Swano had given notice to Parliament about Iyambo's retirement. The party holds one seat currently. We won't let it go. We will go as far as the Electoral Commission of Namibia. They will tell us how they let the person in, and if need be, we are going to go to the court, Shikudu said on the evening review of attempts by Iyambo to hand his seat to Karonda. The party's policies would have to be followed to the letter, Shikudu emphasized. We are not going to allow the party policy to be misused and let the constitution of the country be trampled on by the political party, he said. Shikudu further advised Iyambo to look at what had happened to the Popular Democratic Movement after 6 of its parliamentarians were removed that had not been on the party's parliamentary list. What we are saying now, if these people are good listeners or if they read, they should go back and read what happened to PDM. PDM put people in parliament. Today, what is the situation? Shikudu said that Iyambo could backtrack on his plans to retire and retain his seat, but any attempts to hand the seat to Karonda would not be accepted. Shikudu said he can go in. We are going to accept him, but not Karonda, not a person who was not on the list. Omusati Governor Ergenius Njala said, no matter what economic hardships the country goes through, Independence Day can never be ignored, as it is the day which liberated the country from the shackles of apartheid. Njala was speaking at the 33 years of independence celebrations, which were held at Olufuku Cultural Center in Otapi and were attended by over 15,000 people, including President Hage Geingob and former President Sam Nujoma, as well as other cabinet ministers and members of parliament. He said, although as leaders they recognize that unemployment is rife in Namibia at the moment, he still strongly believes Independence Day should be observed with the much respect it deserves and cannot go unnoticed. Some people are complaining about the money spent on the day that is being wasted. We must educate and remind all members of our society about the importance of this historic day. Njala said, adding that people should never forget those whose blood waters our freedom. Achievements for the region. In a side interview, Njala shared with the Namibian Sun some of the many achievements in the region after independence worth celebrating. He said currently 85% of schools in Omusati are electrified with running water and most constituencies are connected with access to roads and MTC connection. He said most constituencies also have access to healthcare through clinics. Besides the challenges, it is pleasing to observe that government is resolute and continues to allocate resources within its means through ministries to all 14 regions, he said. The Ministry of Urban and Rural Development last week sent a letter to the Korehas Town Council noting that administrative procedures were grossly violated, and thus the ministry could not acknowledge and publish the notice of vacancy. In the letter, the ministry demands that the town council should rectify these mishaps, then only the newly sworn-in members will be valid. Towards the end of February, the United Democratic Front recalled Korehas Town Council Marcia Hendricks, chairperson of the management committee, and local authority councillor Gideon Uisep after they failed to give an accurate response to meeting minutes requested by the ministry. In addition, earlier this month, the council appointed Erwin Hawasep and Karel Shitana as local authority councillors less than 2 weeks after booting Hendricks and Uisep. The council also terminated the contract of the then Council CEO Andreas Hawasap on the 28th of February. Sources revealed that the position has temporarily been taken over by Railis Hawasap, the council's former strategic executive. You, the council, are advised to also first ensure that any withdrawal is endorsed or has been communicated by the Secretary General / administrative head of the political party, association, or organization concerned. This is crucial before the ministry can cause the publication of the notice of vacancy in the Government Gazette. The ministry's letter read, furthermore, the ministry noted that the council skipped the process by proceeding with the swearing in of the nominated members before the de-gazetting of the withdrawn members was affected. The ministry will not cause the publication of your notice of vacancy until our request on the said administrative procedure is fully complied with. The ministry added, now the council was urged to refrain the newly sworn-in members from participating in decision-making because this may compromise / invalidate council resolutions. In our Community Talk segment, we take a look at a workshop on gender mainstreaming in the criminal justice system that was hosted earlier today at the Seaside Hotel.
Flex is your health and fitness show that focuses on the health of the mind, body, and spirit. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
A workshop on gender mainstreaming in the criminal justice system was hosted earlier today at the Seaside Hotel. Gender mainstreaming is a strategy to improve the quality of public policies, programs, and projects, ensuring a more efficient allocation of resources. Let's take a look.
Morning. So today we are here to actually conduct a gender mainstreaming workshop, especially focusing on institutions that are managing gender-based violence. We feel it's very important that gender mainstreaming is institutionalized in every organization. It's important for the country, but it's important for the international frameworks. And in particular, we're looking at the Agenda 2030, looking at how we achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And if we look at each one of those Sustainable Development Goals, we find that an element of equality of women needs to be vested in those particular Sustainable Development Goals. For instance, we have Sustainable Development Goal 5 that deals with, in particular and holistically, on the equality of women, on the empowerment of women. And when we look at Sustainable Development Goal 16, we look at, as a criminal justice sector, how can we include the issues of women? How can we partner to actually encourage decision making, the partnership and the leadership of women, so that ultimately we avert exploitation and violence and discrimination of women generally. So gender mainstreaming really implies looking at how we can include a strategy within an organization that looks at the inequalities, the discrimination, looks at the needs and roles of women and men, and how we can have an equal distribution of those roles and tasks depending on the relevant needs. Importantly, it actually invites participants to look at how they can take forward the strategy and transform their organizations so that the best interests of women and men are equally attained. We have a lot of challenges around that area because we find that women in particular are put into positions, but they're not adequately informed, they don't have knowledge, adequate knowledge about how they can make a difference. But sometimes they also think that they are there as a token, and maybe they're not equipped, but they're not also embraced in being heard about the decisions, about the leadership that they want to bring. So although they occupy positions of authority, they feel subservient in those positions, and they don't effectively manage and carry out their responsibilities. So really we need to look at how we empower and inform and increase the knowledge of women, so when they are in those particular positions, they can ensure that they really do justice to it.
In economic news after the break, we take a look at occupancy rates in Namibia's hospitality industry that averaged 31.7% in February this year.
We are back again with another episode of your favorite show.
Scholars, varsity and the youth generation through Zone, Varsity and School News. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
Let's take a look at our economic news. Occupancy rates in Namibia's hospitality industry averaged 31.7% in February this year, compared to 37.1% the previous month and 22.5% in February 2022, according to the latest Hospitality Association of Namibia data. Commenting on the figures, Samini Storm said the data continued to follow its longer-term seasonal trend, where occupancy rates typically dip every January and remain below average until Namibia's peak tourist season commences in May and lasts until September. February and March usually are the quietest month for the tourism in Namibia, quoted Han CEO Gata Pitzold. In our next story, Namibia's banking system remains resilient and sound, with solid capital and liquidity buffers in place to withstand risk emanating from internal and external shocks as the world reels from the closure of a number of regional banking institutions in the United States and a global systematically imported bank based in Europe. The Bank of Namibia Bond has said. The Bank of Namibia is confident that both the robust regulations and sound oversight of banking institutions in Namibia can shield local institutions from shocks that have shaken confidence in the banking system in those countries, the central bank said. Despite the ongoing global developments, the Namibian banking system remains liquid and well capitalized, the bond said. Let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 18.31 to the US and 19.77 to the euro. It trades at 22.42 to the pound and $2 Namibian and 66 cents buys yuan Chinese yuan. Zinc is down by 0.73% and Brent crude oil is up by 0.58%, trading at $75 and 76 cents per barrel. We'll be taking a look at the international news after the break.
NMH at 1 brings you news from all across Namibia. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact NMH1 at synergy.com.na. NMH at 1, your lunchtime news companion.
Getting into our international news, French President Emmanuel Macron has given a defiant defense of his decision to force a rise in the pension age in the face of protests across France and 2 no-confidence votes. This reform isn't a luxury, it's not a pleasure, it's a necessity, he said. Protesters have been emboldened by the government's use of constitutional power to ram through reforms without a vote in the National Assembly. Now, a 9th round of strikes and national protests will take place on Thursday. There have been 6 nights of demonstrations involving hundreds of arrests in a number of cities. Bins that have been left overflowing by refused workers have been set alight, and 13% of petrol stations are running short of fuel because of blockades at oil refineries. Almost half of the pumps in the Buches-Durona area of the south have run dry. The protests have also cast a cloud over King Charles' imminent visit to France. Green MP Sandrine Rousseau called for the trip to be cancelled. Is the priority really to receive Charles III at Versailles? Something is taking place within French society. The priority is to go and talk to society, which is rising up. Under pressure to lower tensions, Macron made his first public remarks on the escalating pensions row in on an interview broadcast on 2 of the main French TV channels at Wednesday lunchtime. The French president said protesters had a right to take to the streets and their anger had been taken into account, but it was not acceptable when they resorted to violence without any rules whatsoever. Do you think I enjoy passing this reform? No, he said. Looking to bring in the rise in the pension age by the end of 2023, he said he had a responsibility not to leave the issue alone despite its unpopularity. France has a pay-as-you-go pension system whereby workers pay for retirees. Macron pointed out that when he began working, there were 10 million French pensioners, and now there were 17 million. Let's take a look at our weather forecast. Thunder showers are expected in Anana at 31 degrees and partly sunny weather in Ruacana also at 30 degrees. Partly sunny weather is expected along the coast with a high of 21 degrees in Balvis Bay and 20 degrees in Handys Bay. In the sports section tonight, Namibia has 26 medals after 2 days in South Africa. We take a look at this story and more.
Ohole So Nice is an entertainment show brought to you by the youth for the youth. This is a dating show that allows individuals to participate and be their own true selves. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
Let's take a look at your sports news. Starting off with some exciting news. Namibia had 26 medals after 2 days of the South African Sports Association for the Physically Disabled National Championships, which will conclude in Cape Town today. DStv Premiership giants Orlando Pirates are set to make an eminent decision on the futures of 2 first-team stars with the end of the 2022-2023 campaign fast approaching. Excitement is building for this weekend's second edition of the PSG Capricorn Group Ride the Regis mountain bike race, which will take place at Heya Lodge on the outskirts of Windhoek. The highlights will follow shortly.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
Sport Wrap is a daily show focusing on all sport news and current affairs. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact sportwrap@synergy.com.na.
The Regional Review brings you news, views, and interviews from NMH correspondents from across the country. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact regional@synergy.com.na.
Let's take a look at the news highlights from today's broadcast. Presidential hopeful Job Amupanda says it will be business unusual when he takes office on the 21st of March 2025, saying one of the first things his administration will do is to renegotiate Namibia's oil deal signed with the Qatari government and oil giants Total Energies and Shell. Omusati Governor Ergenius Njala said, no matter what economic hardships the country goes through, Independence Day can never be ignored, as it is the day which liberated the country from the shackles of apartheid. DStv Premiership giants Orlando Pirates are set to make an eminent decision on the futures of 2 first-team stars with the end of the 2022-2023 campaign fast approaching. And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Make sure you join Sunset News on Facebook, on all the animate platforms on weekdays, as well as on our website, OneUpTwo.com. Sunset News screens on DStv channel 285 and GoTV channel 94 every weekday from 7:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. I am Glenn Rashipura, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.
Flex is your health and fitness show that focuses on the health of the mind, body, and spirit. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
We are back again with another
Generation
episode
Z
of your
reaches
favorite show.
scholars, varsity and the youth generation through Zone, Varsity and School News. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.